Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald Quinn, on this 11th of June 2019. I discuss the world of sports and pop culture. As always, we are streaming live from on my YouTube channel. You can catch the podcast anytime on my YouTube channel, Real Deal Podcast. I'll be posting on various platforms between now and tomorrow morning. It will be available through YouTube anywhere from about 15 to 30 minutes after the program. It'll be available on Blog Talk Radio sometime later on tonight, maybe even early tomorrow morning. And easy to where it's easy place to begin with, and easy story to begin with, and that is of course the Kevin Durant injury, which took place a couple minutes into the second quarter last night, with Golden State Toronto, as Golden State was able to hang on and take out Toronto 106 to 105 to keep their hopes of three-peating alive. They'll be going, of course, back to Oracle on Thursday night. But again, the result of the game is absolutely an afterthought in comparisons to what transpired with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, of course, left the game about a couple minutes into the second quarter with the leg injury, and we knew right away as soon as he tried to make the move on Serge Ibaka that it was a non-contact, and that his not only his night was going to be done, but his series and his season was done. Now, and he was playing he's playing, of course, up until that point, he was playing great. Had 11 points, had made all three of his threes. The Warriors offensively looked like the Warriors. They had their swag back. Curry had a big first quarter, and you could just tell he was the best player on the floor. And I know, all due respect to Kawhi Leonard, who's had a phenomenal postseason, who more than likely will win Finals MVP, with Toronto still in the catbird seat, up 3 games to 2. But Kevin Durant, even in the short time that he was on the floor, played 12 minutes, was clearly the best player on the floor, and he seemed like he was headed towards 30 to 35, maybe even 40 point night. Again, a lot of speculation on who's to blame. Should he have been playing when it came to this injury? I'll say this, and I've done a lot of, basically, just you know, researching and homework as far as when this injury first took place, the diagnosis, and when he hurt himself in Game 5 against Houston, and he came out with MRI. It was diagnosed as a grade 1 mild calf sprain. Okay, now to give you a little background on what that is, a calf not sprain, strain, excuse me, is a is a tear in your calf muscle. Grade 1, normally you're out 7 to 10 days. Grade 2, you're out minimum 4 to 6 weeks. Grade 3, which of course is the worst, is a 3 month injury. So the question you ask yourself is, how was this misdiagnosed? It clearly, at worst, in terms of at the baseline, was a grade 2 strain. At worst, and looking at what transpired last night with the injury, it might even have been closer to a 3 month injury. So Kevin Durant, and again, this is not me second guessing. Um, Kevin Durant shouldn't have been playing last night. There's all there is to it. The Golden State Warriors failed Kevin Durant. They allowed Kevin Durant to convince them to get on the floor, even though he was not ready physically. And for an organization that has been at the top of the heap for the better part of the last 5 years, as well run as any organization in basketball, up maybe even in sports. This is something that you just wouldn't expect. This is something that I just don't understand. And this is, these are types of mistakes that will have conspiracy theorists going wild, right? Because they'll say, a conspiracy theorist will say, wait, hold on. He's going to be a free agent. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Can, of course, opt out of his deal after this year. It was expected to leave, whether it be New York, whether it be Brooklyn, Knicks, whoever, it was expected to leave. What, if he plays and we lose, he's out. If he plays and we win, we get another title. If he gets hurt, he's not going to be on our team anyway. Now, again, I don't believe that none of this is going through the minds of Bob Myers and the San Antonio and the Golden State Brass. I don't. I think they are a first class organization, first rate organization, the whole nine. But when you make a mistake this egregious, people are going to play devil's advocate that you could diagnose, not leak information. He can hold his water as far as keeping secrets, and it will give you the information at more than likely at the appropriate time. He held off on the James Harden information that came out with Chris Paul. So Rose came out on Thursday and said that he basically, or Friday or this weekend Saturday, I think it was Saturday, and said that Saturday Sunday that the workout didn't go well, and that he would be shocked. Maybe it might have been Monday. He would be shocked if Durant played for the rest of the series. That the workout did not go well, and there were other reports that had, that had similar had similar information about that workout on Thursday. You go from that workout to all of a sudden now being cleared to play on Monday and being ruled questionable on Monday and playing on Monday. So, like, what happened in those 48 hours from Thursday, or 72 hours? What happened in that 3-day period? Again, this workout was not a grueling workout. It wasn't, by all reports. So to me, from the outside in, I think Durant lobbied hard to play. I think that the doctors, I guess, under the pressure from the organization, cleared him to play, and the result is you have a guy that's going to be out for at least the next season with this injury. This is one of the most devastating injuries that that a basketball player can have. This is even worse than an ACL, ankle broken. This is as bad as injury as you can have as a basketball player, a torn Achilles, or as an athlete in general. As bad as it gets. This type of injury ends careers, even with all the modern medicine, even in 2019. Most guys do not come back the same player. So again, considering how Golden State has dealt with injuries to Klay Thompson, to Steph Curry, versus how they dealt with this injury. And if you really look at it, there's no comparison in terms of how careful they were with Steph Curry, with his ankle injuries, and even his knee injury back in 2016, versus, and even the knee injury that Curry had, the minor knee injury that Curry had last year to begin the playoffs, versus how they've dealt with this Kevin Durant injury. Klay Thompson a week ago was lobbied hard to play in that game 3 after being injured in game 2 against Toronto. This is a guy who was one of the toughest players in the league. This is a guy in Klay Thompson who, outside PJ Tucker, has probably been the most durable player in the league over the past 5 years. He gets hurt in game 2, wants to play in game three, which was um, last Wednesday. Injury took place on a Sunday. They say no, take the extra day. Game's not until Friday night. You basically have 4.5 days of rest. And Thompson was dying to play. That was for a hamstring. Now, again, if I was playing conspiracy theories, I would say Durant situation versus Klay Thompson situation. Well, both are unrestricted free agents, but one is expected to be back. Like, it would be a shock if Klay Thompson would go Golden State. It really would be. Versus Durant, who a lot of people thought had one foot out the door, despite how dominant he had been prior to the injury against Houston. Look at Bob Myers' press conference. It was very revealing. Very. Now, again, seemed genuine about his love for Kevin Durant, how much he cares about him. Don't doubt that for a second. But look at a couple of these quotes. You can blame me. I don't believe there's anyone to blame. But if you want to blame somebody, blame me. How many times have you seen a general manager, president, CEO of a sports team come out after a guy's been injured to that extent and point the finger at themselves? How many times in your lifetime in watching sports have you ever? I had never seen that happen ever, ever. I don't think there's anybody to blame, but you can blame me if you want to blame anybody. That was guilt. That was we fucked up, and that was Kevin. Can you please forgive us? So there was three things going on there with Bob Myers during that press conference. It was a very short. It was about 5 minutes and 16 seconds. But that was guilt. There's a lot. He covered basically every emotion, as far as you know, as far as what was going on in his mind. And again, I don't doubt for a second Bob Myers cares about these players. I don't doubt that for a minute, for a second. This is a guy. Bob Myers is as respected of an executive as there is in the league right now. He's built a team that's won 3 out of the last 4 championships. That's in the finals for the fifth straight year. So we understand Bob Myers is a top is arguably probably the best at his job right now. But this is a situation where, I think back to a year ago, everybody was ripping on Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi betrayed the Spurs. Kawhi's playing, missing out. That's the worst when you're about to sneeze, when you have an anticipated sneeze but don't sneeze. But Kawhi, being selfish, and look what the Spurs have done for him, and look how he's treating the Spurs, and his injury's not that serious. Kawhi was getting destroyed this time last year. Look who's playing in the finals right now, on the cusp of a championship and the Finals MVP. Look who said, you know what? Physically, I can't do it right now. I'm not gonna risk my career and my injury or my livelihood to prove to anybody how tough I am. I don't care what Tony Parker says. I don't care what Popovich says. I don't care about what anybody in the Spurs organization says. I don't care about what their doctors say. And those doctors, the Spurs doctors, are as respected of a training staff as there is in the league. But they don't know his body the way he knew his body. And has worked out the results of what he's done. Uncle Dennis speak for themselves. Compare that to Kevin Durant. And, I think Kevin Durant really allowed Twitter, the media, people that were who were questioning this injury to frankly get the best of him. that if Kevin Durant really listened to his body, had a honest conversation with his body, he does not step back on the court and made a lot of decisions. He does not step back on the court. Now, Kevin Durant, and I don't expect this to happen. Kevin Durant cannot blame the Golden State Warriors for this injury. I can blame the Golden State Warriors. Maybe Kevin Durant's family can blame the Golden State Warriors. Kevin Durant, as a man, as a grown man, 30 years old, cannot blame the Golden State Warriors. Because without Kevin Durant's consent with that decision, they he's not on the court. And again, I don't think Golden State even pressured him to get back. I really don't. I think both Golden State and Kevin Durant wanted him to play before the finals was over. I think it was a bad combination. There was no one. Now maybe somebody in Kevin Durant's camp said, Kevin, is it worth it? Maybe somebody tried to talk him out of it. I don't know. I'm not in his inner circle. But the Golden State Warriors and Kevin Durant wanted him to desperately be on that court. His teammates wanted him to be on that court. And, if the job of an organization, in a sports organization, is in situations like these, when it comes to injuries, is to protect the player from themselves. That is your job as an organization when it comes to injuries. And Golden State did as bad of a job as you can possibly do in this situation. They really did. And it might cost Kevin Durant his career. He's going, again, from a financial standpoint, some team is going to give him a max deal this summer, regardless of whether or not he will be able to come back next year. Some teams will give him a max deal. It only takes one. I'm sure there'll be multiple teams that will be lined up to give Kevin Durant the max contract. Without question, I still think the Knicks will be one of those teams. I'm sure there are teams that will come out of the woodworks. I myself, if I were running an organization, I give him a three. I'll give him 2 years and a third year as a option, as a team option. I would take a risk. Not giving him 4 years with all four being guaranteed, or giving him a player option. It would be a short, team-friendly deal from the standpoint of years. We wouldn't be concerned about the amount of money. It'd just be about the years. 2 years with a third year as a team option. I think that's what his talent still demands that's worth the risk, depending on where you're at as a franchise. But the Golden State Warriors as a franchise completely dropped the ball on this. Completely dropped the ball on this. There's no two ways about it. It's not second guessing. It is, I just think that you, as an organization, you can't, there's certain mistakes that just can't be made. You cannot misdiagnose a calf strain grade 1 versus grade 3. And again, his strain was probably closer to being a grade 3 than it was a grade 1. So Durant's going to be done for probably a year. Um, as far as the Warriors go, I don't think it really affects. I think they were expecting him to leave anyway. I don't. I think they would have probably made a push to re-sign him, but I think the Warriors. It doesn't really alter what they're gonna do, what they were gonna do. To be honest with you, I think they were ready for him. I think they were having a plan that they had a plan already in place, anticipating that he was going to be out the door. It's more about the rest of the teams around. What are the rest of the teams around the league going to do in regards to who comes after him? How many teams come after him? There will be multiple teams after him that will put an offer sheet on the table. There's no two ways about it. If you think that then you just not paying attention to the NBA. This is not 34-year-old Kobe Bryant coming off Achilles. Kevin Durant's 4 years younger. Kevin Durant is the best player in the world prior to this. Somebody will take a risk. Someone will. There's no two ways about it. But the history of this injury tells us that the best of Kevin Durant, those days could be behind him, and that he probably, chances are, the likelihood that he won't be ever be the same player again. That's what the history of this injury tells us, and it could have been avoided. It absolutely could have been avoided. And again, you look at how Kawhi handled this versus Kevin Durant. Kawhi listened to his body. I'm shutting it down. Again, be careful when a guy tells you, the athlete tells you that they cannot play and they're hurt, and you say, "Oh, no, you can play," or you call a guy soft because he's sitting out with an injury. Look at the last three major injuries in the NBA as far as high-profile guys. You had 3 straight years. You had Isaiah Thomas from Boston a couple years, 2 years ago. Had Kawhi Leonard last year, Kevin Durant this year. Isaiah Thomas and Kevin Durant chose to sacrifice for the team, lay that, put it, put it out there on the line, and both of them paid the price. Isaiah Thomas paid the biggest price because that cost him his career, and he's not, nowhere near the player that Kawhi or Kevin Durant are. That cost him at least 70 to possibly more likely $80 million. That cost him his career. Kawhi Leonard, I'm going to do things. I'm taking care of my body, looking out for my best interests. He's going to get his money, and more likely, and possibly a championship in the Finals MVP. So I think that this is more about what the rest of the league is going to look like as far as to me, it will have an effect on the rest of the league than it will the Golden State Warriors, because I don't think but re-signing with Golden State anyway. So it's a question of who goes after Durant. How long is there a possibility that he will play late next season? Next May or something, or April. I don't think he plays next season. I just think out of pure caution that people around him, hopefully somebody's in his ear saying, "Look, just take the season off." I mean, you just, even if your recovery is going along quickly, even if you're ahead of schedule, no, just sit the season out, which is a hard thing at this point in his career. He's not 25. He's not 23. This is one of these prime years are few and far between when you reach the age of 30. So who knows how long the LeBrons, Kobe's of the world. Not too many guys that can play at a high level into their mid 30s. So it's a tough pill to swallow to have to sit out the entire year in your prime. Not an easy thing, but without question, he's going to have to. As far as the game goes, Toronto blew a golden opportunity as far as I'm concerned. That game at 103 to 97 had the champagne was ready to be uncorked at that point, and you felt like Toronto was in total control of the game. Kawhi Leonard was on his own personal, basically 10-0 run, and then Nick Nurse for whatever reason decides to call a timeout. And again, if not for the Kevin Durant injury, Nick Nurse calling a timeout would have been by far the biggest story of the game, easily. Because that was one of the bonehead plays, coaching decisions that I've seen in the finals in recent memory. I cannot think of a. You have all the momentum in the world. Your team is rolling. Kawhi Leonard is unstoppable, and you allow Golden State to catch their breath. And after that, Golden State ended the game on a 9-2 run. two big threes, three big threes from the Splash Brothers, two by I think two by Thompson, one by Curry, and the last bucket. Um, I think Kawhi scored their last. No, the last score was by Nick Lowry. Nick Lowry. Kyle Lowry layup. That was the last bucket of the game. So, if Toronto does not win this series, you can look back at that timeout as being the turning point um, in my eyes. Now, if you're Toronto, you have Game 7 at home. You have um, you have a Game 6 in where Durant's done for the series. You've won there twice. I don't think you can let this get to a Game 7. I think Toronto's approach should be like treat Game 6 like their Game 7 because Steph Curry and Klay Thompson can go for 40. They can go for 70 between them in any game. And now, unlike games 3 and 4, the um, Golden State's gonna be well rested. Like they're gonna have an extra day rest between each game moving forward. So they'll play on Thursday. If they win, if it goes past Thursday, then the game 7 will be. Well, game 7 won't be till Monday. Yeah, so game 7 will not be until Monday. Excuse me, Sunday. Excuse me, Sunday. So that like you don't want to mess around with and if you're Toronto, you don't want to mess around in game 6. I thought they had a golden opportunity in game 5 that they should have put it away, but trying to close out a championship team with who didn't quit. Golden State got enough, of course, got what they got from the Splash Brothers, got enough from Boogie Cousins, who had a nice performance. Um, to got and Durant's points were big. I mean, again, that's a 1 point game. Durant had 11 points in 12 minutes. They needed every single one of those points. Needed every single one of those points. 23s for Golden State in the game. They were Toronto outscored them from the line, which kept Toronto, kept Toronto in the game when they couldn't make a 3 point shot. Don't have any problem with Kawhi Leonard giving up the ball. That was a great double team, a well timed double team by Andre Iguodala. The spacing was terrible on the play. If you're Toronto, the one regret you do have is the fact that, again, to me, you're only down by one. Um, maybe they should have went quicker, so that Kyle Lowry doesn't, the best shot that you get it shouldn't be a contested 3 point shot from the corner. Maybe you can make a case that they could have got a better shot, but your best player had the ball in his hands. It was a well timed double team, great block by Draymond Green. 7 thought that game was over. I thought that game was absolutely over at 1 from 97. You give Golden State credit. Made some big shots. They held off. They made enough plays. Again, they only had 24 points in the second half, but made enough plays in the last 3 minutes to keep their season alive. And now again, you start playing these extra games, and you don't put teams away. That's when injuries do happen. That's when you're susceptible to something like that. When you get a chance to put away a series, you absolutely should put it away because ankle twist, anything can happen once you start playing these extra games. That is going to be again game 6. A lot of people, there are people picking Toronto. I'm telling you right now, to beat that team 3 times at Oracle. Remember, when they beat him the first time was no Klay Thompson. The second time the turnaround was quick. Curry had nothing. This time you're gonna have a Klay Thompson who is near at probably close to 95% at this point. You're gonna have a crowd that is gonna be insane, and you're gonna have a pretty a well rested Steph Curry compare in comparison to Game 4. So I think I expect Game 6 to be closely contested down the stretch. That crowd is going to be again last game in Oracle. That is a tough spot for Toronto to win to win against that team. That team still has championship pedigree, championship medal. But if you're Toronto, if you're a championship team, if you then you handle your business in Game 6. You don't even allow it to go to a Game 7. Do not mess with a Game 7 against that team. Don't mess with a Game 7 against that team. So if you're Toronto, I'm putting all my marbles in that Game 6. That Game 7, Game 6. You have to treat that Game 6 like your Game 7. And if Toronto cannot, if Toronto were to somehow lose this series, you're going to go back to that timeout that Nicholas called at 103 to 97. That will be the thing that people talk about even more so strategically X's and O's wise than the Kevin Durant injury. Again, this series. It hasn't it hasn't by any stretch of imagination been a classic, but it has been a just a series of so many different storylines and subplots and narratives. I you know, People can say all they want that Toronto's the better team without Durant. I'm not I'm not convinced that Toronto's a better team than Golden State without Durant. I'm not convinced by that. To be honest with you, you look at the games that look at the games where Golden State has been fully healthy without Durant or near close to being perfect health. Game 1, yeah, Toronto controlled for the most part, won by 9. Golden State won Game 2. Games 3 and 4. I mean, again, Clay missed Game 3, Game 4. Curry came out. Looney didn't play, and Curry was gas. And Game 5, you got what you got. So even throughout 5 games, it's still hard to get a sense of this series is. It really is. Now maybe Game 6 will, you know, will tell you a story. Will tell you a story. Will tell the story of it. I don't know. I just I've never seen a finals where that has been so choppy and where it's taken this long to get a feel of what the series is. Again, we know Kawhi Leonard's unstoppable. We understand that. We know Steph Curry is going to score the ball, but other than that, is we just don't know about this series. To be honest with you, yeah, this series has been as trying to predict. Now again, it's easy to predict Toronto's going to win. They're up 3 games to 2. They have Game 7. Good luck trying to predict this series game by game because I do not have a good feel about the direction of this series moving forward. I really don't at this point. If we played 5 games, so again, Game 6 is on Thursday. Um, Again, Golden State. If, Listen, it doesn't matter. We've seen the last 2 off seasons, the two best organizations in basketball, the two best, Golden State and San Antonio, completely in different ways dropped the ball when it's come to dealing with their superstar players in terms of their injuries. Think about that. San Antonio, it cost them. I mean, it cost them their franchise player. It cost them Kawhi Leonard, who right now is at worst, probably the second best player in the world right now. And for Golden State, um, it may cost Kevin Durant the rest of his prime years as we know it. So that is, this, it's one of those things where, again, if a player tells you, I can't play, I cannot play, moving forward, I gotta go with the player. I mean, in terms of looking out for his best interest, in terms of dealing with injuries, you can question their toughness, you can question their heart, but right as of right now, especially in the NBA, I'm going to take the player over the organization when it comes to these, especially serious injuries. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. As always, this is the Real Deal Podcast, telling it like it is with no apologies.